If Steve Jobs' story has made you believe that failure at 30 or 40 is not the end, but rather an opportunity to reinvent yourself stronger than before, then prepare yourself for another story. One that is more relatable, more realistic, and perhaps even more inspiring to many of us. Imagine you're in your 40s, a time in life when many people think that a stable career is enough, and now it's time to start resting. But you feel a familiar unease inside, a question that keeps ringing in your mind. Can I start something entirely new? Do I still have the strength, the courage to venture into something new, even though I'm no longer young? That's exactly the moment Howard Schultz went through, not once, but many times. He was not a tech genius born into a wealthy family. He grew up in a public housing project in Brooklyn, where each day was a struggle for survival. He didn't have prestigious degrees from Harvard or Stanford, but he had something that young people often lack: persistence honed from real-life failures and a heart that never accepted that it's too late as the final answer. While Steve Jobs turned failure in his 30s into a springboard to return and change the entire tech world, Howard Schultz proved that even when you start from almost nothing with an idea that sounds crazy at an age when many people think they should be retiring, you can still build a global empire, a company that not only sells coffee, but also sells the feeling of belonging, the feeling of connection. His story started with an espresso in Milan, Italy when he was 30 years old, but the biggest chapter, the one that turned Starbucks from a small chain in Seattle into an icon for millions of people worldwide, really exploded after the age of 40. He was rejected 217 times when seeking funding. He bought the company at age 34. He took it public at age 39, and at age 55, when many thought it was time for him to retire, he returned to save the very company he had built from the brink of collapse. This is not a story of innate genius. It is the story of an ordinary man, with the pain of his childhood, with countless rejections, and with a strong belief that, if you see something others haven't seen, and you are willing to persevere to the point where others think you are crazy, then you can change an entire industry. So let's embark on the journey of Howard Schultz, a man who proved that after the age of 40, you can not only start over, but start bigger and more meaningfully than ever before. Get ready, because this story will make you ask yourself, if he can do it, why can't I? We all reach such a point. Our children are grown, the mortgage is easier to handle, maybe, and our careers have brought stability, but the fire of passion is no longer there. We see young people starting businesses with apps, shaking up industries, and a part of us wonders, has the best chapter of my life passed? Howard Schultz's answer, through his own life, is a resounding no. In fact, his biggest chapter, the one that built a global empire, didn't truly begin until after 40. And it wasn't luck, it was vision, resilience, countless rejections, and the refusal to let "it's too late" become your story. Howard Schultz was born on July 19, 1953, in Brooklyn, New York, in a public housing project where dreams often seem far away. His father was a truck driver, worked hard, got injured, lost his job, and never had health insurance. That childhood experience left a lasting mark on him. It taught him what it feels like when a company doesn't care about people. At the same time, it sparked in him a burning desire to build something different. He was the first in his family to attend college, Northern Michigan University, on a football scholarship. After graduation, he sold blood to make extra money, worked as a salesman at Xerox, then moved to a Swedish houseware company called Hammerplast. There, in his late 20s, he noticed something unusual. A small coffee roaster in Seattle called Starbucks was ordering more filters than large stores like Macy's. Curious, he flew out to meet them. In 1982, at 29 years old, he joined Starbucks as the Director of Retail Operations and Marketing. At that time, Starbucks only had a few stores. They sold high-quality coffee beans and equipment, nothing more. No lattes, no seating, no music, no third place, just coffee beans. Then, the moment that changed everything came. In 1983, at age 30, he went on a buying trip to Milan, Italy. He stepped into espresso bars, small, crowded places where people stood close together, chatting, laughing, sipping perfect coffee. This wasn't just a coffee shop, it was a community center, a third place between home and work. He counted 1,500 such places in Milan alone. He saw the future. He returned to Seattle, filled with excitement, and suggested transforming Starbucks stores into Italian-style cafes, serving espresso drinks, creating cozy spaces, building relationships one cup at a time. The founders listened, but said no. They loved the purity of selling coffee beans. They didn't want to become a restaurant. Schultz could have stayed quiet and climbed the corporate ladder, but at age 35, in 1985, he left to start his own venture, Il Giornale, Italian for the newspaper. He wrote a business plan, knocked on every investor's door, and faced rejection after rejection. Of the 242 potential investors, 217 said no. He heard every excuse. Coffee is a commodity. Americans won't pay $2 for a cup. You're crazy. But he still raised enough, thanks in part to two of Starbucks' original founders, to open the first Il Giornale store in 1986. It was a success. People loved the experience. He opened more stores. Then, in 1987, at age 37, the original Starbucks owners decided to focus on Peet's Coffee. They sold 6 Seattle stores to Schultz for $3.8 million. He merged Il Giornale with Starbucks, kept the name, and began the transformation. This is where the true magic of middle age began, because the explosive growth, the global empire, the cultural change all happened after the age of 40. In 1992, at age 42, Schultz took Starbucks public. The IPO raised $271 million, fueling rapid expansion. By the end of the 1990s, the company was opening stores almost every day. Japan in 1996 at age 43, China in 1999 at age 49, then Europe, the Middle East, everywhere. He didn't franchise, he kept control to protect the soul of the brand. He introduced benefits no one else offered: health insurance for part-time employees, stock options, beanstalk, tuition assistance through Arizona State University. He built a company his father would have wanted to work for. By 2000, at age 50, Starbucks had thousands of stores and billions in revenue. Schultz stepped down as CEO, becoming chairman. He wanted to focus on strategy and new ideas. But life has a way of throwing in a second, sometimes a third act. In the mid-2000s, Starbucks grew too fast. The stores became too uniform. The economy collapsed in 2008. Store sales plummeted. The board invited Schultz back. At age 58, he agreed. He closed 900 underperforming stores, retrained 180,000 baristas on the art of brewing, refocused on quality over quantity, and brought back the warmth of the original vision. He also launched mobile payments, a loyalty program, and ramped up ethical sourcing, fair trade, sustainable coffee. By 2017, when he stepped down again at age 64, Starbucks was a $100 billion company with more than 28,000 stores in 80 countries. Even after that, at age 69 in 2022, he temporarily returned as CEO to stabilize the company during another tough period.
What makes this story so powerful for anyone between the ages of 35 to 80? First, vision doesn't expire with age. Schultz didn't invent coffee. He saw what was missing, a place to connect, not just a cup of coffee. At age 30, he had the idea. At age 34, he bought the company. At age 55, he saved it. Age brings perspective, not limitation. Second, rejection is fuel. He faced 217 no's before raising funds. Each no taught him something. In midlife, we've all heard plenty of no's. Use them to sharpen your resolve. Third, build with your heart. Schultz's painful childhood drove him to create a company that treated people well. Benefits, dignity, community, these weren't just nice things, they were the foundation of sustainable success. In Europe and the US, where work-life balance and fairness are highly valued, this particularly resonates. Fourth, comebacks are real. At age 55, many people think, I've reached the peak. Schultz showed that you can come back stronger. He closed stores, retrained staff, rebuilt trust, actions that require courage, not youth. Fifth, purpose is more important than profit. Schultz always said, profit is a shallow goal if it doesn't have a real purpose. He balanced growth with social conscience, fair trade, supporting veterans, providing jobs for youth. That's why people love the brand. And finally, it's never too late. Schultz started his biggest project at age 30, expanded aggressively at age 40, and continued reinventing himself in his 50s, 60s, and even 70s. Your 40s, 50s, and 60s are not the end. That's when you have the wisdom, the network, the resilience, and enough life experience to see what others missed. So if you're reading these words, feeling that quiet unease, remember Howard Schultz, from the Brooklyn housing projects to building a third place in every neighborhood around the world. He didn't wait for magic. He didn't let age define his potential. And if this story sparks a fire in you, stay tuned for the next part. J.K. Rowling, from unemployed single mom to legendary author. A woman in her 30s, at rock bottom, divorced, living on benefits, depressed, and she turned her imagination into Harry Potter, one of the greatest publishing phenomena of all time. She started writing in a cafe while her child slept, rejected time after time. Then, the magic happened.